Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I am your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God is the master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The Society is an interdenominational, religious, spiritual organization. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common. And that's the knowledge that there is a being, by no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. We know that there is indeed an almighty being. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed almighty. Today is October the 15th. I remind you of that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. And I remind you of that fact because this show is an open discussion. It's a two-way conversation. Those of you that are watching by Facebook, I invite you to join the discussion by posting your comments on Facebook. And let me make sure, okay. Post your comments on Facebook. And those of you that are watching by Facebook, I invite you and encourage you to hit the like button, hit the share button, start a watch party. Let your friends know that we are on and ask them and encourage them to participate. If there's something that's going on in your church, your mosque, your masjid, your church, your temple, your place of worship, and you want to let the world know about it, post your comments on Facebook or join us on Zoom and make your comments on Zoom. If there's something that's going on in your nonprofit organization and you want to share that information with the world, do the same thing. Post your comments on Facebook or join us on Zoom and make your comments. More important than what's going on in your place of worship, more important than what's going on in your nonprofit organization, if there's something that God has done for you in your life, a miracle that God has worked in your life. And I use that term literally because the God that I'm here to tell you about is working miracles. That's right. Today, as I said, today is October the 15th, and the God that I'm here to tell you about is working miracles today, October the 15th, 2020. So if God is working a miracle in your life, post your testimony on Facebook or join us on Zoom and post your testimony. We're going to our program, and I'm going to go back to our board. Okay, just so that we can go through the order of our program tonight. We'll have our announcements. After our announcements, we'll have our testimonies. And again, you heard me encourage you to share your testimonies. After that, after our testimonies, we'll have our religious spiritual study. And as we are reminded and encouraged in Thessalonians, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. That's coming out of First Book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21. Tonight's discussion topic is the soul. Okay, the soul. That's our discussion topic tonight. After our discussion, then we'll have our words of inspiration coming out of the book of Exodus, chapter 9, verses 20 through 35. You see on the screen right now, that's our main website. That's www.godisalmighty.org. We have a religious discussion blog, a Facebook page, a Twitter page, Instagram, YouTube. We have all those social media platforms. You don't have to worry about writing all that down. Just go to our main website, and that's www.godisalmighty.org, and there are links to uh, all of our social media outlets. Okay, so just go to our main website, and there are links to all of our social media platforms: Facebook, our blog, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The message tonight, the message is coming out of the city of New Orleans, but on the first and third Sundays, you can also watch the message at 9 p.m., and that's delivered by Messenger Ryan King and Messenger Corey Levier. That's coming out of the city of Lafayette, and that you can catch that on Facebook Live at the Messenger page. So the Messenger page, you can go the first and third Sundays at 9 p.m. and watch the message coming out of the Lafayette, Louisiana Center of the Society of Knowledge, Inc. Also in the Lafayette area, there's Imani Temple number 49 of the African American Catholic Congregation. Is presided over by Bishop John W. Milton, and that's at 201 East Willow Street in the city of Lafayette. Imani Temple number 28 of the African American Catholic Congregation is presided over by Bishop Wendy Mee, and that address is 2411 Treasure Street in the city of New Orleans. I invite you to check them out, pass by, and fellowship with them. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's October, and I want to just take a minute just to remind all of us, okay, all of us, and when I'm saying all of us, I'm talking about male and female, to be aware of your body. Okay, be aware of your body. Yes, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's something that I remind us of every year, that not only do females contract breast cancer, but also males. Is not as often as females, but males do contract, do develop breast cancer. So guys, examine yourself. Give yourself a self-examination. Don't worry, feel that it's something funny. No, it's none of that. It's all about preserving your life. Okay, so that's something that some men are unaware of, that men can actually contract, can actually develop breast cancer. And men do develop it, men do die from it. So, save your own life. Check yourself out. And if something doesn't feel quite right, go to your doctor and let your doctor examine you. I think we have a couple of more announcements. Let's see. Yes, we do have a major announcement, and that's vote. Okay, vote. Okay, early voting begins this week. Okay, not next week. It begins this week. It actually begins tomorrow. In the city of New Orleans, early voting begins tomorrow. So when you're watching TV and you see folks talking about the election is in November, no, early voting begins tomorrow. And I encourage all of our viewers, I encourage you to vote early and go out and vote. And there are a number of folks that are discouraged from voting. I'll hear people make comments about, oh man, I'm not participating in that. That's not for me. I'm not going to get involved in none of that. All that's irrelevant. My vote doesn't matter anyway, and it's all rigged, it's all a hookup. Let me tell you something. Vote. Vote. When we're looking at the national level, when you have folks that are in the position of president, with all the power that entails, the power to approve laws that are passed by Congress, the power to block laws that are passed by Congress, the power to block health care. There's a lot of folks nowadays that have health care that didn't have health care years ago, but because the laws were changed, they have health care. So on a federal level, it's important that you vote and elect folks to the positions, those offices that will benefit you. Now, bringing it home even closer, in the city of New Orleans, we have several very, very, very important offices that are up for election. We have criminal court judges that are going to be elected. We have a district attorney that's going to be elected. And even though you might feel that voting for federal senators and federal congresspersons and federal judges and presidents, all of that's not your concern, even though you might feel that way, get some understanding when you're talking about these local elected officials. But don't wait until you're sitting in jail or one of your loved ones is sitting in jail, innocent, but have to sit there for 3, 4, 5, 6 months because they don't have the money to make bail. Don't wait until that happens before you start trying to figure out, well, why are judges setting such high bail for nonviolent minor offenders? Don't become concerned. Don't wait to become concerned about the system. Then the time for you to act is now. All across the country, we see civil unrest. People talking about how unfair and how unjust the criminal justice system is. Well, this is an opportunity for you to do something about the criminal justice system in your city, in the city of New Orleans, by going out and vote. As I said, we have civil court judges, we have criminal court judges, we have district attorney, we have a Louisiana Supreme Court justice seat that's open. So again, I know I took a little bit of time tonight talking about it, but I just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to vote. And let's see, I think that's the end of our announcements. Let me just make sure. All right, that is the end of our announcements. So we're going to start our discussion, our religious spiritual study, prove all things, hold fast, that which is good. We'll start our discussion tonight. And our discussion topic tonight is the soul. So at this time, I want to invite, we have a panel member. I want to make sure all right, Brother Israel. Good evening, Brother Israel.
Tell.
All right. Right, Brother Israel, last week we had a discussion, and this week the discussion topic tonight is the soul. Okay, that's our discussion topic tonight. And they're actually, if you want to make some opening comments, and then I do have a couple of scriptures relating to that topic we can read, and then we get into really an open, in-depth discussion. So if you have some opening comments, Brother Israel.
Well, not really. I'd rather let you continue to present and start this discussion now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do that. Let's do that, and You know, that topic as far as the soul. And let's see, I think we have if we do. Okay? And this is coming out of the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So here we see in the book of Genesis, there's a distinction that's being made between the man that's created out of the dust and the man who has now become a living soul, and he's been transformed. That dust has been transformed into a living soul after God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Brother Bruce, thank you for joining us on Facebook. If you have some comments about the soul, I invite you to post your comments. So that's one instance of a discussion in the Bible about this thing that's called a soul. Now, a question that arises is, are the soul and spirit the same thing? Are the soul and spirit the same thing? What does the Bible say about that? In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 23, it says, and the very God of peace sanctify you wholly, and I pray God your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. So now we see there being a distinction made between the spirit, the soul, and the body. Right? So not only now do we have a soul, but we see a body, and then we see this other thing called a spirit. And then Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, it talks about, for the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. So now we see here in Hebrews is talking about there is a difference between the soul and the spirit, and that the word of God is so sharp that it could even divide the soul and the spirit. And now this is, as I was preparing for tonight, I saw this rendition on one of the web pages, and it had an illustration as far as the spirit being in the center and surrounded by the soul being surrounded by the body. I want to say good evening to my wife, joining us on Facebook, wife, with that spirit, soul, and body. And yeah, we're going to pick it up, start the discussion, pick up the discussion there. Brother Israel.
Yeah, I like that graph you just put up.
Mm-hmm.
The graph you just put up.
That graph, all right. Let's see if I get it.
Yeah.
Get it back up.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Now, I would say that graph is erroneous because the soul belongs in the center of this. Because the soul, and I'm glad, oh man, look how the spirit works. I'm glad you put that up. Leave that up. Because the soul, from an ancient perspective, from see, when I teach, I don't just talk like from my mind. I talk as a student of the ancients because I'm repeating a lot of my studies and translations of various books by various authors who was able to translate various spiritual literature. So when I speak, I'm speaking from the ancient perspective. It's not me and no ego, as probably would be saying. So what I'm saying is this: with this graph, the ancients taught that the sun is very important. The sun is the center of creation, and the sun is symbolic of the soul, according to the ancient Egyptians, according to the ancient Sumerians, according to all the traditional original Black cultures. So with that graph being up, the soul will be that first circle. The spirit is the vehicle in which the soul travels, would be that second, and the body, which encompasses both the spirit and the soul, is, the body's in the right place, but that soul spirit needs to be reversed. And I could, we could get into that also why.
All right. Well, this is, we kind of talking in theory here, and I'm saying talking in theory, and I want to.
I'm not talking in theory. I could go right into facts. I'm not talking in theory. I'm not speaking in theory. Me personally, I'm not speaking in no theory.
All right. This is I want to welcome Bishop Wendy Me. Bishop, welcome. Welcome to tonight's discussion.
Hey, good night, fellas. How y'all doing?
All right. Well, you're right on time. We just had a few opening comments, and we're going to get into it, a little bit deeper. But you have some opening comments, Bishop. And it's good to have you all this evening.
Yeah, Sam here, man. I'm in Vermont. What's the topic?
The soul.
The soul?
The soul, right. And we just had a little brief discussion, read a few scriptures, 1 Thessalonians 5:23, Hebrews 4:12, as far as the soul and whether the soul and the spirit are one and the same or if there's a difference. So that's the discussion topic tonight, the soul. Is the soul real? What is it?
Personally, I remember I had did some, I tried to do some research on the soul, and it was a lot of mumbo jumbo, really. I think the soul is something that the white man created to infuse fear in us. I think that's the part that they claim to be judged in the afterlife, because based on the Bible, it's in Ecclesiastes 12:7, it says, for the body should go back to the earth from where it came, and the spirit, the ruah, should go back to God from where it came. So the concept of the heaven and hell that the white man created, then they had to create something to solidify that ideology. And so they created a soul. So what's the soul? The soul is supposed to be the conscience of mankind, so they say. But at the same time, that's what they tell you. They say, okay, after you die and you do Ecclesiastes 12:7, your body go back to the ground, your spirit go back to God, then the slave mind say that you still have something to worry about. What the heck is there to worry about?
All right.
So I don't really believe in the soul. I think that that's hogwash. I think that, in fact, I know that it was created by our enemy to keep us in fear and suppressed.
Right. All right. The soul. All right. This is just to broaden the discussion a little bit, Brother Israel. Online, there's several definitions that I've found about the soul, and I'm just going to read one of the definitions, and then I'm going to read some stuff that came off of Wikipedia. But the definition of the soul is the immaterial essence, animating principle, or actuating cause of the individual life. A second definition, the spiritual principle embodied in human beings. All rational and spiritual beings are the universe. Okay? So now that's just a little secular definition of the soul, but even by being a secular definition, you see that there's a reference there to spiritual principles. Brother Israel, there was some information you were about to share. Why don't you go ahead and bring that forward?
All right. Let me get into it. But now, see, we got to understand words and etymology. This is what I try to share with people, and I'm not about to try to say this for no debate, no discussion. This is just my research, my information that I'm sharing with the viewers. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying this for rebuttal and no fussing. I'm not, because from a Ma'atic principle, no real lessons comes out of fussing. So my intentions is not none of that. First of all, to the viewers. So what I want to say is this. From an ancient Kemetic point of view, we had what's called the Ba. The Ba. And the Ba, as a glyph, was a bird with a human head on it. And our ancestors in Egypt taught that the human soul consists of 9 different parts that makes the human soul. Some symbol, going to the non-symbolism, which I will. And they taught that one of the aspects of us being in the flesh is the body, is the vehicle in which we use to enter and exit the body, the body. And what those who came after our ancestors and of course, the original Black sages and priests also incorporated this knowledge into future generations, which were prior generations, that there was a unintangible part of some beings, not all beings. It's called they changed this word to mean soul, because the soul, according to the ancient cultures, was the sun. Now, the sun had different names in our ancient cultures, whether it's Helios, whether it's Ra, whether it's Merduk, or whatever. But from a real African perspective, the soul metaphysically is represented by the sun, with the birth of the sun, with the ascent of the sun, with the height of the sun, with the descent of the sun. It has nothing to do with no hell. It has nothing to do with no burning and no fire. It don't have nothing to do with no devil, none of that mind control stuff. But it is the sun. So that's why the word soul is spelled S-O-U-L, coming from the Latin word for sun, which was soul, S-O-L. Mm-hmm. And with them bringing that information, I'm gonna stop right there because I ain't gonna take up all the time. But I wanted to say, from an African point of view and coming into the modern Gnostics, even into creeping into some of the European teachings, the soul is actually symbolic of the sun. And I could go in way deeper into that, but I'm about to just shut up for now.
All right. Well, let's go deeper into that. And I said earlier about speaking theoretically, and you said, no, we're not speaking theoretically, we're speaking realistically. So realistically speaking.
Yeah, we're going to speak.
Okay, realistically speaking,
all right,
and talking about the soul and the sun, okay, the soul, the sun, scientifically speaking, using the language of science, the sun being a source of energy. And what I've learned from science is that matter that's sitting there with, it looks like a staple shirt on with a medallion, that matter that's there being broken down to its essence being energy. So now, is there an equation between that soul, that sun, that energy, and that energy that we see in a coalesced form wearing that medallion Brother Israel?
Well, everything in the universe or the omniverse moves off rhythm. So this has a rhythm that is vibrating at. This has a rhythm that is vibrating at. This has a rhythm. I am a rhythm. You are a rhythm. These words are rhythm, especially if I start flowing like I'm flowing in a rap with it. Key. All right. Just with understanding that everything is a rhythm.
I think there's not interrupting, but I think there's a scientist called Tesla that explored that as far as all matter vibrating at a certain frequency. But that ties into what you were speaking on.
All right, cool. All right. Well, that's once again wisdom from my ancestors. But back to this, the sun, how you say it being energy. Without the sun, there's no cellular life, there's no nuclear life, there's no atomic life. Without the sun, there's no essence for biological makeup. We are biological makeup. I'm not a scientist. Anybody into science, we all know this. Plants, minerals, these are biological makeups. But these things cannot be made up without sun, a solar radiation, a solar power, a solar heat, a solar storms, whatever. So what I'm saying in regards to the soul is this. To me, the soul is tangible because our ancestors say it's tangible, and I see a light in the sky that's tangible every day, and that light is tangible because that light represents a Christ and all these other different things that comes after the soul. So what I'm saying is the soul, in regards to how our ancestors explain the soul and the symbolism of the sun, is that the sun is the creator for everything in this universe. And without the sun, there's no life. So in ancient Egypt, our ancestors had 3 signs to represent what we call God. One was for the cosmic or the celestial heaven. The other was for the plant and mineral kingdom. And the other one's for the animal human kingdom. 3 flags of some people call axis. But these are the 3 things that constitute reality. The celestial heavens, the kingdom, that plant mineral kingdom, and the animal human kingdom. Now there's an order and there's a hierarchy because according to creation and scientists, modern scientists, the celestial came first, just how our ancestors taught. The celestial, the stars, the planet, all these things came first, right? After all these things came, we had plants and minerals to produce cellular life, which led to animals and then which led to mammals. But the difference in the mammal is that creation was reaching a point of perfection. And the point of perfection in regards to creation only in regards to tangible creation, meaning bodies, fingers, teeth, and nose, and penis and vaginas, was reaching the pivotal point of perfection. And that was the Black race. What did we say in Atlantis? What did we say in Lemuria? Or what did we say in Africa? It was melanation because melanin, once again, in regards to the sun, the chlorophyll process of the sun, melanin is green for plants and minerals. But for the humans, that melanin process is black or brown. So I'm gonna stop right there. I'm showing the connection between the soul and the sun in regards to creation according to our ancestors. I'm gonna stop right there.
All right. Bishop Me, we need you to unmute. We need you to unmute, Bishop.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm
right.
listening.
Right.
I'm listening to the brother teach, but I was reading some stuff. I was reading my birth chart and all that stuff on the plane yesterday when I was flying from New Orleans up to Boston, and I'm in Vermont. And I've read some very interesting stuff. But I, you know, as a Scorpio, I found out that I was a person of the sun, and I was also a person of water. And a lot of things that I read, it fit me to a T. So, of course, you know, some years ago, I would have never read it because it was so-called demonic. But of course, you know, I'm past that stage now. So, I, I, like I was, you know, like brother was just saying, I always tell people when you're talking about the sun, you're not talking about uh, the S-O-N, no S-O-N, it's the S-U-N. The sun is the giver of life. The sun is the sustainer of life. The sun is the keeper of all life. And the sun is one of the most important entities that we have because we are people of the sun. That's why we have our color, our hue. So you can't dispute that. I mean, you can't dispute it. I didn't know it. I never knew it. Like brother said, the three elements of it and stuff like that. That's new to me. But I don't dispute at all the sun being what's important. But I do know, because of course, coming out of where I come out of, when you talk about soul, you're talking about something totally different. You know, they use soul as the thing that's going to be judged and, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they use it in a sense of fear. And so it stops people from educating themselves and informing themselves on the reality of something that even when it says that you are the light, the people of the sun, you're the light, you know. So it's puzzling because, again, in the Christian church, I just couldn't take no more of information without explanation. And because there was a lot of information with no explanation, it became very confusing. And so I started myself digging a little deep and trying to learn some things. And I saw a lot of things that they imposed upon us, of course, was imposed upon us to infuse fear and to control. And so when you start, you know, like coincidentally, December the 25th, the birth of the sun, the S-O-N or the S-U-N? Well, we know now, those of us who know a little bit, we know it's the S-U-N. The sun is rebirth and is heading back from its furthest point away from the planet back. But still, some people believe that it's about an S-O-N. So I don't personally, with what Brother Israel say, I have to pound on that and learn a little more about that. So I'm not in disagreements with it at all, but I don't agree with it from how we've been taught it. And I don't know if Brother Israel come out of Christianity or whatever, but Denon, is you familiar with Christianity? And you know how it's taught from a Christian perspective, which we know is very wrong and inaccurate. So I'm gonna stop there because I'm gonna learn. I want to learn some more. So I'm gonna stop right there. Okay, thank you for the
Right, Bishop.
opportunity.
You know, there's Brother Israel, you mentioned something, and you mentioned as far as life and there being no life without the sun. And just to explore that a little bit, that science teaches us that that body that we know of as the sun, that in the whole scheme of the universe, that is really a very, very small object, that the universe contains so many galaxies, so many different systems, that the galaxy that we're in is minute in the whole scheme of the universe. So that just, if there's no life without the sun, then those planets and stars that are millions of light years away beyond our galaxy. Does that imply that there's no life outside of our galaxy, outside of the reach of
You asking me that?
the sun? Right. I mean, no, I'm throwing out, this is a discussion.
All right. Well, I take that as a question, and I'm gonna say, yeah, they have their own stars, they have their own crisis, they have their own creators. So yeah, it's just us in our solar system. We have our God, we have our Christ, we have our creator in our neighborhood. You know, yeah, there are billions and millions and billions and gazillions of other beings out there with their solar systems. So yeah, I have no problem with that understanding. That sun up there, what we call the sun, that entity there is dealing with us. It's not dealing with other beings in their systems.
All right. Well, now that brings up a discussion as far as whether there's a tie-in amongst all of those entities, including us as being little mini solar systems.
Yeah, that's what our ancestors teach. That's why, for me, that's why it's important for people to learn about not astrology, but astronomy. Because when you deal with astronomy, you're learning about the mythological lessons of the stars that was left by our ancestors, which a lot of the literature that was left on planet Earth, that spiritual scriptures, is all about the stars. It's all about the stars. Those different places, which we call spirits, so what we call soul. They're not spirits, they're soul. And I want to get into that question too about the soul spirit thing. I want to touch that. But what the brother was saying, I want to do one thing right fast.
All right.
See, he right when he's saying about the mind. That's right. I want to understand something. In Latin, the word called nous, that means the mind, right? Nous, right? All right. But sun and sun, the Son of Man and the sun in the sky, which are both symbolic of the Christ. The Son of Man is the Christ and the sun in the sky is the Christ, right? The sun is symbolic to the pineal gland, right? But in the biblical sense and the earthly spiritual sense, the sun is the Christ, which is the pineal, which is in the mind. And also in the word nous, you have S-U-N, sun, S-U-N, in the mind, and you have sun, S-O-N, in the mind, in the pineal is the Christ.
All right. Yeah, that's a better shot of it there. All right.
All right.
Yeah, right there. All right.
So the sun represents the pituitary gland. The sun, in regards to the scripture, is the Christ. The Latin word for nous is mind. The word nous is encoded with both of the suns. It's encoded with the S-U-N sun, and it's encoded with the S-O-N sun. As you see, nous, you have S-O-N in nous, and you have S-U-N in nous. Nous is the mind. The pineal is located in the mind. Christ's real teachings is about the mind.
And is there a distinction between the mind and the brain?
The brain is the tangible box that holds the mind.
Okay. So the mind is intangible.
The mind is intangible.
But it's real.
The mind is the satellite that receives the soul's signals. You know? And the brain is the vehicle that is the actual computer that makes us functional and behave out the spiritual intents. So spirit is not, let me say this. Evil does not start in behavior. Evil starts in psychology, the spiritual makeup of the mind, whether the pineal is calcified or non-calcified. And for most, races of the earth is calcified. And for a lot of us, it's non-calcified, but we are still blind in regards to simple knowledge, knowing not who we are, Excuse me for a second, please.
All right, brother. But okay, Bishop, you know, we've discussed on this program before on the message about the pineal gland and, you know, sciences
Yeah.
as far as trying to explain the function of it, what it's really there for. And, you know, we've talked about how the location of it in the brain, the shape of the gland itself, and we've talked about the pine cone and how even when you go to the Vatican, you see the symbolism as far as the pine cone on the Vatican's property. You know, so that as far as Brother Israel was speaking about the pineal gland, and some people say pineal, some say pineal, you know, different pronunciations of it. But that little bitty thing. What'd you say, brother?
I say it's the same God, because the variation of pineal and penile is has to do with the Bible translation of after the wrestle with Jacob, he's saying the face of God, and his name was pineal or penile or whatever you want to call it. It's just a play on words. It's codex. And that's what I was saying about when I showed you nous, that nous is mind, and nous, the Latin word nous is mind, and also in regards to the mind, you have the Son, which is the preparatory, S-U-N, and you have the Son, S-O-N, the Christ. And both of these things, once again, codex information is written in the word nous, which is mind. So from a codex point of view, that's what I'm explaining. And in regards to the Bible and understanding the soul and the spirit, which I wanted to touch on, is that outside of the codex information, I'll be trying to share with people that the spirit and the soul are two different things. And everything has spirit: a rat, a roach, a dog, a mosquito. You know, everything has spirit. Spirit is energy that prevails over the earth. That's part of that thing when I was talking about rhythm. But everything don't have a soul. Soul deals with knowing. Now, to give a metaphor that I give as metaphor to help people distinguish between the soul and the spirit, is that the spirit will be your vehicle, your car, your body, your physical body, your car, or a car. And that car has energy, through battery energy or liquid energies. To liquid will be blood. The electrical energy will be the electrical properties of the body. So that car has energy to move about. That spirit. What controls the car is that person who drives the car. That person is the soul. The soul is independent of the car. You see what I'm saying? So the soul has the power to enter the car and exit the car. Just like when we go to sleep, we have the power, we go dream, do whatever, and we come back and we wake up into this realm. That's the soul. The soul is something that's beyond the physical. And the connection of understanding what I was about to continue to explain about the sun principle in the soul, and explaining through the dream principle and death, how the soul is something that's beyond the tangible reality. And of course, modern Christianity didn't teach this. Of course, modern Islam didn't teach these things. But these things have always been around through the occult world. And how it's around in the occult world, and the codex information, and how people decipher the Bible, and how Black people get a better understanding of the Bible, because all of that was created by Black Moors, who we know the history of the Moors, who came into Spain in 711, and they didn't get kicked out till 1492. That was 700 years of creating libraries, universities, rewriting the history, raising up Europe, and rewriting scriptures of ancient cultures that turned into Jewish, Greek, Latin literature, to where they was able to lie and say they're the Jews and all this type of stuff. So what I'm saying is the Bible's written with codex information by our ancestors. That's for us in the modern time. And the soul, how I just explained, it is soul information. It's all about the soul. Because once we start learning about the soul, we start learning how about our godhood and our godhoodish. You know what I mean? That what the Christ said. Remember, the Christ is mine, the Christ is the pineal, the Christ is the Son, is all of that. And the teachings was that ye know not that you're gods. We walking around sleep, knowing not who we are. You know what I mean? So this awakening of the soul is all about godhood. It's about the Christ teaching about us fighting against oppression, fighting against the lying Pharisees, whether black preachers or white preachers who taking ripping people off, and the government with all the mind control, the poisons, and all the diabolical stuff that's going on in the world. It's all about godhood, and godhood consists of understanding and awakening of the soul.
All right. And Bishop, you something you want to make a comment?
Well, I'm listening. I mean, I see it similar to how he see it, honestly. I never heard it put quite the way he put it, but but the information is very similar to what I think, because of course we know the when because of my years of indoctrination and the thing that I was, I guess, guided by per se, I was taught from a different perspective, which I do know that the information that I've learned, that I did learn. So it's an interesting subject. And to hear the way Brother Israel put it, I can't, I don't know. I mean, it's your inner self, I guess you could say that. Just like with the pineal gland, because I have a book I bought about the pineal gland to try to get a better understanding of it, right? To try to get a better understanding of it. And so just to try to see, because, we said the pineal gland is the gateway to the soul. I agree that everything have spirit. Everything that live have the spirit of life in it. The spirit of life in it, everything. And people try to act like it's just humans, and they really try to say it's just Christians, but that's not true, because, in the Bible it says that that man, not only did man become a living soul, it said man became a living soul, but everything before him was given life too. So I'm the kind of person now that I respect the life of the tree. I respect everything. We was talking about this yesterday, coming up from Boston to New Hampshire, Vermont. And the fall foliage is it's just out of sight, I mean, it's just so pretty. And we was talking about trees and, how, and they say he struck a tree down because the tree wasn't bearing no fruit. And so, people say, if a tree don't bear fruit, they have no purpose. That's not true, because every tree has its own purpose. Some trees' intent is to be filters to the air that we can breathe, live through all the poison that they put in. So everything that's used for its intended purpose, I guess you could say, I don't know. I have to process this, because what I know and what's being said is similar, but a little different. So I don't know enough about it, not from that perspective. That's a new perspective for me. But I know that the Bible said man became a living soul. That's what it says. Man became a living soul. But then when brothers say the soul is what drives you and guides you, I can't dispute that. I think it sounds valid.
Let me share this with you right fast also. See, like in ancient India, how the blacks taught, they would have the 5 hearses and the charioteer riding the horses. The charioteer symbolizes the soul, and the 5 horses symbolizes the 5 senses. See, the ancients believed that the soul, I could go into a greater story, which I won't. The ancients believed that the soul was entrapped in the flesh and have to battle the flesh now. Because the ancient Egyptians teach that the soul, the body, is the imprisonment of the soul. That's why the teachings of Osiris, the god Osiris, some people call him Osiris, but the god Osiris is the coffin. And he's wrapped in bandages all the time. The wrapping in bandages symbolize physical flesh. Being in that coffin symbolizes physical flesh. The ancient Kemetic, one of the ancient Kemetic words for the coffin was karast. Karast. You see Christ in there. So what I'm saying is that the soul is inside of the vehicle, and the vehicle is driven on spirit. Spirit is animate. Everything has spirit, but everything doesn't have a soul. And all beings on planet Earth don't have a soul. And I can show you how they even talk about the soulless ones being created with those who have soul. And the soulless ones are the ones who don't have the concentrations of melanin. I can get into all that. But what you said
I'm
was
with you on that one.
all right, all right. And what you had said about fall, and I'm gonna show you the sun, how our ancestors, not theory, but in symbolism, because Confucius said the world is ran off signs and symbols, not words. That's why we have the great Masonic orders. You know the orders, handshakes or whatever. Whether you belong, I don't know, y'all belong or not. But what I'm saying is, signs and symbols run the world, and symbolism teach the world. Symbolism open the eyes of the subconscious. That's why the ancient world taught in symbols. But the modern world teacher from the left brain side confusing us with words, the glyphs of magic and spells. That's something else I could get into. But let me get back into the soul thing. A fall, when you mention fall and how things are falling, it's looking pretty. It's called fall for a reason, because the sun is symbolically on a decline now. The sun is in old age, symbolically. After 365 years spinning of us going around the sun, symbolically, from our view on earth, the sun is now going into a descent, it's falling. The sun, well, Jesus, the Christ, is about to be betrayed by Judas. The sun crossing Scorpio is Judas. Judas is the stain that's about to stain the sun. The sun is the Christ who about to be betrayed and who about to get sent to the cross, which is going to lead us into Christmas. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot, you know, it's symbolism that's going on too. And also that symbolism represents our soul and what's going on with us as Black people and as persons, as in ourselves.
Right, all right, Brother Israel. Let's speak about the symbolism that it's about time to gather your crops and get ready for that sun to rise again so that you can start planting so that you can eat next year. Yeah, we had a great discussion tonight. Thank you, Bishop, for joining us. Thank you, Brother Israel, for joining us and sharing the knowledge. And we have just about 2 minutes. Actually, we have 1 minute left. So if we could each take about 20 seconds wrap up, we're going to start. Bishop, you were the last to join us this evening. So if you can just about 20 seconds wrap us up, and then we'll be following up.
All right. Well, as always, I thank God for this vehicle, because it's a vehicle of learning and knowledge. Brother Israel, thank you for the knowledge, my brother, tonight. Even though I came on a little late, I was trying to get here, you know, but I still enjoyed the teaching and stuff. And again, it's still a part of taking me out of that old mindset that I had and put me in that new mindset to see things from higher perspectives. So I thank God for you, United King, for this vehicle, and Brother Israel, thanks for the knowledge, brother, shared tonight. Blessings to you too, brother.
Appreciate y'all, love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bishop. Brother Israel. Closing comments?
Well, I want to praise and thanks out to y'all for having me part of your platform, and for the viewers, just continue to get in the know, because that's what this is all about. And what I do, that's all I'm on. My teachings is Godhood and soul ascension, you know. And with that, we'll be all right. You'll be all right as a person. That's it.
All right, thank you, Brother Israel. As always, I'm taking my last few seconds to remind everybody to go to our main website, and that's www.godisalmighty.org, and you'll be able to see this broadcast. Hopefully, we'll have it posted by the beginning of next week, and if we're real lucky, we'll have it posted by tomorrow. It'll remain on Facebook. But sometimes it's hard to find things after they're not live. But hopefully it'll be up on our website, and you'll be able to go click, and you can go to our website, and there are links to our YouTube page, and they're archived. All of our videos are stored there. So as always, it's been a great evening, evening of sharing information, sharing knowledge, and the greatest knowledge that I have. The greatest knowledge that I have personally is that there is an almighty being, and that I call that being God. That being's been called by and known by many different names, but I call that being God. And it's my prayer in this upcoming week, no matter whatever it is that we have to go through, no matter whatever it is that fate has in store for us, no matter whatever it is that God has in store for us in this upcoming week, it's my prayer that God Almighty blesses you and yours with peace. Peace, brothers. Peace.
Peace, brothers. Blessings. Thank you.